Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music industry. Leverage is a strategic advantage. It's the power to act effectively. It's what you're going to need to get ahead in today's music industry. The good news is we got to do it for ourselves. That's also the bad news. We got to do it for ourselves, and it's going to take leverage. They want to see what you've done. They want to see a track record. They want to know that you're capable of doing it before they're going to invest their time and energy into you, whether you're a singer, songwriter, artist, whatever. So that's why we called this podcast The Climb, creating leverage in the music business. Brilliant. It's a brilliant backstream from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you can write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then he connects you to the pros so you can find out where you stand, what you got to work on, and maybe even create a relationship. Find Brent super easy at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
That's right. And I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They help you find your sound. They help you grow your audience. And Daredevil has created over 25 national TV opportunities for their indie artists by making them discoverable. They've also created multiple tour opportunities. And through the power of digital marketing data, they've attracted a number of investors for their artists. The investors are the money people, folks. The investors like the numbers because the numbers don't lie because numbers can't talk. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D. Although he could use a couple more of himself because he's busy.
How you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there.
What are we going to learn today?
Man, I had the opportunity at the time of this recording, it was last week, so about 2 weeks ago by the time this drops, to go to church and school at the same time.
Really?
The Ryman Auditorium, the Mother Church of Country Music, they had the Nashville Songwriters Awards for 2019. They awarded the 10 Songs I Wish I'd Written awards, and we're going to talk about those and what we can learn from those and maybe help you write your own songs.
Didn't you get one of those?
Yeah.
You got one of those.
I got one of those on my wall. Yeah, so I got one in 2005 for Monday morning church. So
okay.
So we'll get into all that, but yeah, so that's one of those that's if I could only have one on the wall, that would probably be that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. Well, before that, let's take care of a little business here. You know, we've got artists on tour this fall, and straight up, we know it's a digital world, but it's super, super important to have physical media for today's independent musician. And our artists will go out with physical product, including T-shirts, USBs, merch, CDs, all that kind of stuff, because people are going to buy that at the shows, and that's what's going to get you to the next town. The digital royalty payments are so small that selling products like a CD or vinyl or T-shirts at gigs it's not become important. It's become mission critical to making the tour work.
That's right. If you're just hoping for streams to float your boat, I see streams and boat.
Boom.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you're just hoping for streams to float your boat, you're going to need about 3,000 streams to equal the income from selling one CD at a show, right? So that's a whole lot of streams to float your boat. Hey, while you're out there, if you're out there playing gigs anyway, get some CDs, get some physical merch, put it on the table so you can get some money in exchange for that. It's a whole lot more than just the streams. Let the streams flow, baby. But you want this other physical product as well. And our friends at Disc Makers are the place to go for your CDs, your disc, your other physical media, including vinyl, USB drives, and even T-shirts. And you can find the fine folks at Disc Makers at www.discmakers.com, or you can give them a call at 800-468-9353. That's 800-468-9353.
Right on. And hey, if you haven't joined the C.L.I.M.B community yet, please do so. Go to Facebook, search for the C.L.I.M B community in the groups, and ask to be let in. We let everybody in, but this is a very vibrant group. Lots of activity going on. Lots of people going back and forth. Nobody's shouting into the corner. Yeah. And we're trying to post on the regular in there, and we're doing a pretty good job of it. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And with regular features, like what do we got going on there?
Well, I just wanted to share a little something, a little spotlight. This is every Wednesday we do the New Heights post where, because it's the climb. Share your new heights with us. And so we have a lot of people posting. So here's one from Jessica Jordan. Hey, Jessica. It says, I'm a stay-at-home mom of 3 boys, released my first single back in January, have been hitting up local open mics weekly for a few years, and now I'm thrilled to announce that I'll be releasing my first EP this fall because my Kickstarter is fully funded. So to anyone feeling like they just can't, let me tell you, it's possible. So rock on, Jessica. Keep on climbing.
Way to go, Jessica.
Yeah. So
right.
That's just another win in the community, and that's fun. We should share these kind of. We did that last time. I was like, I should do this more often. That feels good to share a win from our community.
I love that. And hey, Jessica, not for nothing, I hope you put some money in the budget for marketing.
The good news is at least she's been playing shows and stuff before she came out with the record.
That's right. Yeah. So she's got an audience.
Getting some audience. That's right.
That's going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So subscribe to the podcast as well. Make sure that wherever you like to listen to podcasts, that you get every episode and you can kind of cherry pick what makes sense to you. And we're trying to up our ratings and reviews. So if you've been thinking about doing it, please take 30 seconds and do it. Just go right there to iTunes, leave a rating and review, leave your honest assessment of the show while you listen to it. That helps other people feel good about giving it a shot, it provides the social proof you've heard us talk about so much on the show that this is worth my time and I'm going to get something from it. And then finally, just share it with people. If there's something that blew your mind, get out there and let other people know why. And now you're going to resonate with them and they'll give it a listen too. Because that's why we're doing it. We're just doing it to help you guys. And the more we can help, the better we do, right?
Amen. Everybody wins.
All right. So songs.
I wish I'd written. Every year for I don't know how long. I mean, let me look at the program here. Probably since, I'm not sure. They've been having the National Songwriters Awards since 1967. So this some NSAI puts on, National Songwriters Association International. And so this was the 2019 version of it. So I went to it the other night and, they award the Songwriter Artist of the Year, which is Luke Combs, the Songwriter of the Year, Josh Osborne, and a couple other stuff like President's Keystone Award to George Strait, Christofferson Lifetime Achievement Award to Loretta Lynn, the White Hat Award to Lamar Alexander, Senator. And then my favorite stuff is the songs I wish I'd written, which is voted on by the pro membership of NSAI. So if you're a pro member, you get your ballot and it has a ton of singles on it, from the previous year, and you get a vote on the 10 that you wish you'd written. That's the criteria. Wish I wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I get mine every year, so I get a vote on it. And yeah, like you mentioned before, I was blessed to win one of these in 2005 with Monday Morning Church. And that's why I said if I could only have one of those things on my wall, it might be that one, just because that's voted on by your peers and your heroes.
Out of all the awards, yeah, that would be the best.
That's the one voted on by songwriters. They're going, that's a song. And so that's the one that means the most to me. The platinums and that stuff, that means I got to make a living doing some stuff. I got to make some money. But the song I wish I written means I made an impression on songwriters. And that just, you like me. No, you like my work. But anyway, so I think it's the coolest award. And this year, for the first time, all 10 songs got performed in full by either the writer or the artist or the writer and the artist, which is really cool. So they played them all, I was thinking about oh my gosh, what would have happened in 2005 if they're you and Aaron need to get up there and perform that sucker. I'm like, what am I going to do? Hold a shaker and triangle and do an interpretive dance?
Hold this cocktail
let me just hold your drink, Aaron, and you do that country thing you do so well. Anyway, so that's something to think about. But anyway, I'm off the hook because that was a while back. But as I take a drink of coffee, so let's just run through these. I want to share these with you. And so these are songs that professional songwriters are I wish I wrote that. So there's something going on with these songs that maybe we should pay attention to, right?
Right.
So help you on your climb. So let's go ahead and start. And these are in no particular order except for the last one. So we don't know where these came in the voting. We just know they're all in the top 10. First one is Meant to Be by Florida Georgia Line and BB Rexa. And so, I'll just play I won't do this for all these songs, but you should know all these songs if you're a country listener anyway. Let me find my my little music here. And here's why I think this sucker's in there. So rocket science. No, this is, I think this is in there because and it was a huge old hit because of the vibe. That's chorus. Who's not singing that chorus the second time you hear it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We can all sing along because they got like 5 words in it. And so it's just so singable. So it's not like this big, whoever Carrie Underwood melody. It's so singable, and it's a light, easy message, but it's a positive message and that chorus can be applied to so many things. And it's a vibe and so singable. And that's something that we'll touch on several of these songs is singability. I was like, oh, okay. Because I was sitting here, like I said, I was going to church and going to school at the same time, just trying to go, what is making these, you know?
Right.
So second one, Whiskey Glasses by Morgan Wallen. And so that one, I think a couple things that are great about this is you got the catchiness. You got that bridge going, line them up, line them up, line them up, line them up, knock them back, knock them back. You know, you just got that repetition. Let's do it again until everybody in the whole crowd and the whole audience is singing, yeah, if I'm ever going to move on, line them up, line them up. You know, just doing like, here's our crowd participation portion of our show. All right. So you got that, which is super hooky, or you may hate it. But hey, that's what makes it a hit, right? You love it or you hate it. It's reactive. A bold choice. It's a choice,
that's
right? And so, and also one thing that's great about Whiskey Glasses is how the phrasing on the verses keeps changing, not from verse to verse, but within that verse. So you got that pour me another round. You know, so it's kind of slow, then it speeds up. It's like, don't want to think about her or wear a ring without her. Don't want to hit the karaoke bar. Don't want to sing without her. So make them drink strong because, brother, she's gone. You know, so it keeps changing up. It's not the same thing the whole way through the verse. So you got like 3 different like phrasing melodic pieces at least going on in the verse before you even hit that chorus.
Yeah,
like that
those are 3 different hooks. There's a hook in the verse, and there's a hook in the chorus. There's 3 different hooks in the verse, and then a hook in the chorus, and it makes
it's
it
like
fun.
all these tasty little things. Like, and that song feels fat to me because the beat just feels fat. And let me see if I can pull. I'm not gonna pull all this stuff up, but you know, so there's maybe you love the pour me part. You know, where it's a little more open, or maybe you love the. You know, or maybe you don't want to think about her, wear a ring without her. Maybe you love that. Maybe you love the line them up. Maybe you actually, and that's not even the chorus. So it's not all, you know, and it reminds me of, and some people will hit me in the face for mentioning the Beatles here in reference to a Morgan Wallen song. But I remember, so there's so many, and I'm not saying this Beatles, but I remember having that one album of the Beatles, like all their number ones, and listening through it one night right before I was going to go to bed. And it's like right after I moved to Nashville. So I still remember I was in my uncle's mother-in-law's, you know, house where I was renting a room. And I had my big boom box with my remote control. And I was, you know, I had that CD on. I was going to listen to it as I just kind of zoned out to go to sleep. I ended up listening to the whole record in full. But I was just going to skip. Get a little bit of this, skip to that. But like every part was melodic, different from the other part. And it didn't stay on any one part for too long. That kind of changed. You got later Beatles, but especially that early stuff. You know, I just want to hold your hand, and it kept moving and changing, and every part was tasty. Yeah. It didn't stay anywhere too long. It didn't wear its welcome out on any of that stuff. It was like tightly constructed, but every little section was really hooky for what it was and moved on to the next thing. And so that's something like, oh yeah, this verse keeps changing, but each part is hooky. And then you get to the chorus. You know, it's like
you're having fun before.
Oh my gosh! If the appetizers are this good, I haven't even got to the main course yet. But the appetizers are kicking my butt, you know. So that's one thing I think is great about that, and a lesson is each part of your song, try to make it hooky melodically, changing up the phrasing. Again, like the phrasing on the second verse is the same as the first verse, so you're not changing up from verse to verse, but within that verse, there's sections, and it keeps it moving, it keeps it interesting. It's like, yeah, man, what's it gonna do next? So that's Whiskey Glasses. Drunk Girls, number 3 by Chris Jansen. And so I think one of the things that make this great is a great twist on the title. So they say, you know, take a drunk girl home. And so when you hear that in country song, you're thinking it's going to be this total bro fest, right? It's a brofet we're about to eat off of, right? And she's drunk. I bet there's a tailgate, and I bet there's a rear, and I bet I'm going to take a drunk girl home. I'm eating off the brofet. Choose your adventure, right? No, it's not. it's this message about be a gentleman. If you see there's a drunk girl that is not worrying, she's in a place where she's going to make good choices or take care of herself. She's just got a big old target on her. Take a drunk girl home, let her sleep all alone. Lock the door behind you on your way out. That sort of thing. That's the difference between a boy and a man. Take a drunk girl home. So it's this real positive anti-Me Too kind of message. Like, don't be that guy. Be a good guy that respects and takes care of a girl when she's in that state. So I think that was super fresh. Opposite of so much bro stuff that's going on, like, hey girl, get your shaker up in my truck. That kind of thing. It's not very respectful of women. Like, that's just kind of all she is she's a shaker in shorts.
Shaker shorts. Say that 5 times fast.
Oh, in jorts. So I think part of it's counter programming, and we're hungry for some depth, and like, oh man, what a good positive message. Like, respect that girl. Even if you don't know her, she's not your girl, respect her. And so I think that's a lot. And there's great imagery in there. It starts off talking about how the stamps on her hand got her hand looking like a rainbow kind of thing. All the different color stamps from all these bars she's been in. She's either bachelorette or she's coming off a breakup, take a drunk girl home. Just great imagery, great writing in there. So that's Drunk Girl. Number 4 we got here on Songs I Wish I'd Written, God's Country, Blake Shelton.
Wait, can we go back to go back to Drunk Girls? So Chris
Jansen, always go back to the Drunk Girl.
Yeah, this is the part I want to hang on and talk about. When we do song title challenges, and we're every other Friday we do this, and we're trying to get into just teaching people how to flex that muscle before you start putting the pen to the paper. How else can you spin it, right? So Drunk Girl, prime example. Chris Jansen did the same thing with It Could Buy Me a Boat. It's just so clever how he talks about, I need all this money. And this is, and you're thinking everybody else thinks, because I could get a yacht and I could get a big house and I could get a fast car. And he's like, because it could buy me a boat and a truck to pull it and a Yeti, And so he just, all of a sudden he's talking about all the simple things that he really wants. Just to be,
it's like, money won't solve everything, but it'd buy me a boat. Yeah,
it would buy me a boat.
And that's so relatable to so many people that have the huge, like Forrest Gump said, one less thing to worry about kind of thing. It's like, I know it's not going to solve everything, but maybe I can't buy happiness, but I'll try to rent it if I can.
Yeah, but it just, it's not ostentatious like that, right? It's like a bunch of things that like a redneck would.
Yeah, want to spend his money on if I got a raise.
Yeah. So just clever. Like, just want to point that out. Like, that's what's so clever about the Drunk Girl thing is it goes a completely different way than you think it's going to by reading the title. And shame on you for thinking that to begin with.
Well, it's funny because I heard a little bit of the story of them writing this. It was Chris Jansen. It was Tom Douglas and Scooter Caruso. And man, if you know Scooter stuff or Tom stuff, that they're deeper than the average writer, more poetic and just coming from a different place. And so I think it was Tom Douglas that came in with the idea of take a drunk girl home. And so they're both leaning in going, okay, well, we know this is not what we think it is because it's Tom Douglas. What are you
there's more to this story.
You're okay. Either you really got hit on the head last night or where's this going? And so it's like, oh, that's what happens with Tom Douglas, Scooter Caruso, and Chris Jansen, right? Take a drunk girl home.
I love them.
Yeah, it's great. So, all right, number 4 is God's Country, written by Devin Dawson, Jordan Schmidt, and Michael Hardy. And I think one thing that's great about this is just the song slams, has great energy. I think it's written well to the hook because if you look at a lot of the stuff in there, for one thing, it's just how has God's Country not been a hit like 12 times over? But the way they did it is not too preachy or patriotic or whatever. You think God and country or whatever. But talking about, let's see, just outside of this one church town. So they twisted a cliche, right? We talk about the cliche pinata. Get the heck out of a cliche and see what candy falls out. Well,
instead
it's God's
of a
Country.
one-horse town.
Instead of a one-horse town, it's a one-church town, which is fresh and also speaks directly to, it's already setting up, already foreshadowing our hook. And the point of this thing is God's Country. So it's a small town. How do you say that? One-horse town, yeah, but it's God's Country. It's a one-church town. Oh, there we go. So that's spot-on writing right from the get. And there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Still gold dirt, referencing streets of gold in heaven. A whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country, right? We pray for rain and thank him when it's falling because it brings the grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in the plate. I guess that's why they call it God's country. We'll talk about the church, but he's the one that sends the rain, makes the crops grow, and it turns into money. We put some of that money back in the offering plate at church. I guess that's why they call it God's country. He's the beginning and the end. He sends it, and we send part of it back to him, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the chorus just kicks. It just, it's a great energy song. And it's not hating on other people. It's not like this is God's country and you're in the devil's New York City. No, it doesn't have any of that. It's just praising what we got. I love what I got, right?
Yeah, it's a really beautiful brochure. Like, man, don't you wish you were down here?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. This is God's country. And then, my goodness, and I think a line that just is the killer, like when you hear it toward the end of the chorus, is just like throw your hands up like, that's awesome, is the devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around because this is God's country. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man, that's good.
That's just, when somebody threw that out in the room, they had to be like either a moment of silence or they're just up and high-fiving because that's freaking awesome.
The devil went down
Charlie
to Georgia.
Daniels, the devil went down to Georgia. The
It's
audience knows
it's like a three-pronged hit,
like,
right?
boom of cool.
Yeah.
And it's on point. It's the devil went down to Georgia. And Georgia's the South. So in the context of this, that's God's country. And he didn't stick around, which is the story of the song. We all know. Because this is God's country. Dang. Thank you.
And you just dipped in a little bit of Charlie Daniels Cool into the...
Oh, exactly. You borrowed a little Cool from CDB,
the CDB.
Oh. Tasty. So,
that's the best rich crack I ever had.
Lyrical miracles right there. So, God's country. Up number 5, Burning Man by Dierks Bentley. Written by, let's see here. I should go ahead and say, Meant to Be was written by B.B. Rexa, David Garcia, Josh Miller, and Tyler Hubbard. Whiskey Glasses by Ben Burgess and Kevin Kadish. Drunk Girl, I mentioned Chris Jansen, Scooter Caruso, Tom Douglas, God's Country, Devin Dawson, Jordan Smith, Michael Hardy. So notice not all the artists are the writers on these, which is nice too. And and they turned out to be killer songs.
What?
It says one thing, if it's a great song, an artist will cut an outside song. And 2, it better be a great friggin' song for an artist to cut an outside song.
Yep.
All right, Burning Man, Bobby Pinson and Luke Dick. Dirks writes a lot of his stuff, so he doesn't need outside stuff as much. But hey, look, he found a great song. And so Burning Man, I think the couple things on that make great. It's rock and roll. It's just rock and roll energy. It just slams. It's great. It can be a great live show, great energy. I think it's great with the artist branding. So we've talked a lot recently about branding. And so what this is basically like, I'm a little bit found, little don't know where I am. I'm a little bit holy water. I'm a little bit Burning Man. These contradictions that so many people are. So Dierks is basically saying, hey, I'm a contradiction. On one minute, I'm a saint, and the next minute I'm a sinner. And how many people feel that way? It's the same thing that Tim McGraw tapped into with I might be a real bad boy, but baby, I'm a real good man.
Yeah.
That's so many artists' brands, what they aspire to. It's like, I want to be a bad boy, but I got to be a good man too, because this is the country audience. I can't just be just the bad. This expands my brand to be both. I can play in both areas, I'm not too bad because I'm a real good man. So it's like, I'm a little bit this, I'm a little bit that, I'm a little rock, I'm a little country, I'm a little all this stuff, which I think not only fits Dirk's brand really well of being a little holy water, a little Burning Man, but fits a lot of what the audience feels about themselves. Like, yeah, man, I'm up, I'm down, I'm a sinner one minute, saint the next, and idiot one second, wise old man the next, So I think it fits the audience going, yeah, I'm a little bit found, but a little don't know where I am. A little holy water, yeah, a little Burning Man. So, and notice how they did holy water and burning. You got the water and the fire set up opposite each other. Plus holy water going a little saintly, but then Burning Man, you think of that festival where I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm feeling debauchery out in the desert.
Yeah.
Crazy town, right? So you got those things set up against each other. So great stuff there. Next up is Tequila, written by Dan Smyers, Jordan Reynolds, and Nicole Gallion, performed by Dan and Shay. Man, I think this one is, so much of it is great melody, just a beautiful melancholy. It's that missing somebody thing, and they just sing their butts off, and it sounds great. So sonically, it's great. I think it has a great melody, especially on that chorus, and also great rhymes. So it's like when I drink, now let me see if I have it. Yeah. When I taste tequila, baby, I still see ya. cutting up the floor in a sorority, so internal, cutting up the floor in a sorority t-shirt, the same one you wore when we were sky high in Colorado, your lips pressed against the bottle, swearing on a Bible, baby, I'd never leave you. I remember how bad I need you when I taste tequila. You know, so all these is so rhymey, but it's got some cool images in there and internal rhymes of floor, sorority, and the Bible, I'd never, you know, got the I sounds in there. So, man, it's just tightly constructed. And I remember how bad I need you when I taste tequila. And so it's, you know, soft rhymes for tequila, but you got tequila, see ya, we were, leave ya, need ya, tequila. So,
and when you put it to the melody, though, it just takes on it.
And it flows and it sounds great. It doesn't feel forced in there. It's right in there. It's great. So, yeah, that's what I think about that. It's the rhymes, great, beautiful melody and melancholy kind of thing. Let's see what else we got here. Some of it by Eric Church, written by Eric Church, Jeff Hyde, Clint Daniels, and Bobby Pinson. And so performed by Eric Church. And I think part of what makes some of it so awesome is the depth of it. Like, it's just these life lessons, pieces of wisdom, right? That some of it is what? Wisdom. But they never say wisdom in the song, which is cool. And it's just interesting language. Beer don't keep. Love's not cheap, and trucks don't wreck themselves. You're like, what's going on here? Mama ain't a shrink, daddy ain't a bank, and God ain't a wishing well. Money ain't rich, everybody sins, nobody wins in a fight. Sometimes wrong is right. You know, so it gives you all these like advice and like little pearls of wisdom. And they're like, yeah, some of it you learn the hard way. Some of it you read on a page. Some of it comes from heartbreak. Most of it comes with age. And none of it ever comes easy. A bunch of it you maybe can't use. I know I don't probably know what I think I do, but there's something to some of it. You know? Yeah. And so they never say wisdom in there, which is really cool. Like, it's like saying I love you without saying love, right?
Right.
So it's just a cool thing. So it's like really interesting language. It's all these little bombs, these little value bombs, these little wisdom things that how many of these can you plug into your life?
Yeah, it almost
maybe
sounds
not
like
all of them, but there's something to some of it.
Sounds like a speech at a graduation or something.
A really cool graduation.
Yeah, like a Eric Church.
Wow, not
like
only were they valedictorian,
graduation,
they were out on Friday night too. So not only is it interesting language, it has more depth to what it's talking about. It's truth, which resonates with people. But it still moves some. It's not like just a slow ballad. And the thing that's kind of surprising, it still has a singable chorus melody, right? Even for depth. They didn't sacrifice like some singability. And what I think is cool is like some of it you learn the hard way. Some of it you read on page. Some of it. So they repeat that. They're hammering the hook. And then they do none of it. A bunch of it. So they do those internal rhymes where they still have that some of it flow to it, but they replace some of those words so it doesn't get totally worn out. None of it and a bunch of it. Then they come back around and book in that chorus, but there's something to some of it. So I just think that's great. So a lot of great stuff in there. And I think we can move on to number 8.
I love what Church does with his stuff like that.
Oh, he's so good.
Decidedly non-pop.
Yeah. But still accessible and a little more depth to some of it. And it's good stuff. All right. Next up is Everything's Gonna Be All Right written by, let's see who we got here. Chris Stevens, David Lee Murphy, and Jimmy Yeary. And man, I think a big part of this is just, it's again, like meant to be. It's so singable. It's a light, positive message. So it's not super deep. Like Meant to Be is not super deep. Everything's Gonna Be All Right. Not super deep, but simple, singable chorus. Everything gonna be all right. You know, it's again, it's like if you're not singing it the second time, you must not have a ticket to the show.
Or you're deaf. You can't
must
hear
be in
it.
the bathroom. You know, everybody gonna pee all right. So I think that's a huge part of that. It has good detail in there about, you know, she looked back over her shoulder and pointed at the sign hanging there on the wall. Said everything's gonna be all right. So they found a clever way to kind of get into that. But I think it's that chorus. It's a good positive message. Who doesn't need to hear that? Everything's gonna be all right. And who doesn't want to sing that? I mean, I bet again, everybody in the place is gonna be singing along. And that's one thing that just really hit me is like, okay, how many of these choruses and stuff are so sing along?
Yeah.
They're easy to sing along to.
Yep.
Okay. I need to
Which makes you feel good.
Feels good. I want to sing along. It's nice, you know? So like Drunk Girl's not the big sing-along thing. It has a different superpower. Tequila may not be as sing-along, but it's a great melody. You want to be able to sing along with it. But everything's going to be all right. Whiskey Glasses, meant to be. Just want to sing along.
Yes.
Or Whiskey Glasses that line them up stuff. Next song is also hook after hook after hook. Up, Down. Performed by Morgan Wallen. Written by Brad Clausen, C.J. Solar, and Michael Hardy.
Morgan Wallen had 2 in there?
Yeah, 2 as an artist. And let's see, Michael Hardy has 2 in there as a writer. He wrote God's Country and Up, Down. And also Bobby Pinson had 2 as a writer on Burning Man and Some of It. So I think those are the only folks that had 2 in there. That's strong, my friend.
Yeah,
strong.
yeah.
So Up, Down. And Michael Hardy's just taking over country music right now. He's just killing everything. Everybody just see him as artist name Hardy. But Up, Down is just basically the idea is, we live it up, down. We live it up, down here, and everything that goes up, down. And so it's not, it's like the opposite of Drunk Girl. It's not this big meaty, or some of it's not this big meaningful thing, but it's just hooky. The way they keep coming around to up, down, pass me the 5th of Crown and I'll turn it up, down, down. I got the red on my neck from being out in the sun as it goes up, down, and then the chorus is, we're just holding it down here in BFE, still rolling around with a burnt CD, free bird, 5 minutes, deep head bobbing up, down, up, down, up, down. And so it's like this small town we anthem. Morgan Wallen is us and we are him, right? It's that branding, it's that culture. It's like, I'm still rolling around. I'm holding it down here in BFE. That small town.
That's me. He's talking about me.
That's my life. Yeah, I am rolling around with a burnt CD and Freebird, my head going up, down. That's me. And we got what we got. We don't need the rest. Can turn this parking lot into a party with an ice chest, dancing cold beer. Man, we live it up, down, we live it up, down here. So it's like anthem thing, like pride and how you're living and what you got. So it's got that, and then hook, just going up, down, just pounding that into you.
I love that.
Keeps you into submission.
Actually, I gotta hear that.
Yeah, it's good. It's just catchy, man. Just like so much that's going. As a lyricist, I can get so caught up on trying to be clever, trying to be this deep, meaningful stuff. And obviously, this shows you can be deep and meaningful, be commercially successful, and have your peers go, yeah. But man, it's singable and hooky. It's, oh my gosh,
that counts too.
And probably some of it, I don't know if that went number 1. Maybe it did. I don't think Drunk Girl did. It was just a little too much, but it was great. But yeah, it's just like, okay, as I'm in the room with people thinking hooky. It's not just what they're saying, it's how we're saying it. It's not just what we're saying, it's how I got to pound that in me as a lyricist and look past like, I dig what we're saying, but what sings really well? Okay, because a lot of times when I'm woodshedding, I'll bring in a lyric that's a little too much lyrical, heavy on the chorus. Like, this is a lot of chorus, but that's what I woodshedded. Maybe that just needs to be the verse. Right. And we just need the simple singable chorus. And if it thought it was going to be a good chorus lyric, it's going to be a great verse lyric. And now let's write the chorus that's just the big singable, everybody participate, come on in chorus.
And then it's not only how you, like what you're saying, how you say it, but how you serve it up when you say it too.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like with the melody, with the vibe, with the pocket and the sort of phrasing that you're putting in there and how to make it just feel good when you're saying it.
Yeah, exactly. It's got, if it don't sing, it won't get sung.
That's right.
And the artist is going to be like, if they're having trouble tripping over it in the studio, they may pull it for another one that's easier to sing.
Yeah.
Can they do this live? Does it feel good? Can I remember it? And all this stuff goes into it. Do I want to sing this night after night after night? Is this fun to sing? Yeah. All right. That's a big help.
Yep. Can I stop in the third chorus and turn the lights up, and then the crowd's going to finish out the chorus for me?
Exactly. So I only got to sing about 2/3 of it every night. Exactly. Even better. All right. Last one of the 10 songs I wish I'd written was Drowns the Whiskey, written by Brandon Kinney, Jeff Middleton, and Josh Thompson, performed by Jason Aldean. And I think this one a little bit got the Breath of Fresh Air award because it's just a good country drinking song. The cliche pinata, twisting that cliche. Normally it's like, drowning her memory. Well,
Right.
the twist on this is, well, her memory drowns the whiskey. She sobers me up kind of thing. Like the whiskey ain't working.
Yeah. Yeah.
As Travis Tritt and Marty Stewart said, wise men, prophets of our generation. But the whiskey isn't working, right? Because her, whiskey's supposed to drown a memory. But I've had one, then one too many, and blah, blah, blah. The thing that really gets me is how her memory drowns the whiskey.
Yeah.
I got drinking, it's supposed to drown her memory. It's not working. Sorry, Lynchburg, I hate to tell you. And so it's just
he did that with Miranda Lambert, right?
Yeah, had Miranda on there, and it went number one.
That's. I remember her saying, "Gosh, that just goes to show you the only way I'm going to get to number one is if I'm singing with somebody that's got a penis."
Exactly. Yeah, she did say
that was
that.
an exact quote.
That was the quote.
But she's rightfully pissed off, I think.
Yeah, I think so. She's doing great work. But it's a good song. I think it's just like, man, that's just a country song.
Yeah.
Which is like a breath of fresh air.
And the truth, by the way.
And the truth, yeah, exactly.
You ain't going to get rid of it with the whiskey. Just
you'd probably just be drunk and sad.
Yeah.
Which I'm writing that. So great. I was sober and sad, and I'm just drunk and heartbroken. Great. Yeah. Thanks. I'm writing that. All right. So, but yeah, I think it's turning that cliche upside down. It's true. It's just good traditional breath of fresh air. Like, that's nice.
Oh, man.
So there's one more. Those are the 10 I wish I'd written. And this is the 11th one, which is the song of the year voted on by the professional members of ASCAP or National Songwriters Association International.
Ooh, okay.
Break Up in the End, performed by Cole Swindell, written by Chase McGill, Jesse Joe Dillon, and John Knight. And man, I think this one is, and I haven't heard it a ton. It went number one. I just felt like I just didn't hear it a ton, but I've gone back and I've listened to it. I'm like, yeah, that song's really good. And it's a ballad for one thing. Wow. Got a ballad on the radio. It's sad. Wow. Has a longing
sad
in it.
And a ballad. Yeah.
Wow. It better be great. And so part of it is like, yeah, you got one, like good on y'all. But I think it's so true. It's basically the thing is I'd still walk in that bar a little drunk. I'd still ask you what you're drinking, what's your name. I'd still kiss you by the shuffleboard, last call at 2 a.m., even though we'd break up in the end. I love this verse here. It feels so true. I'd still introduce you to my mom and dad. Say, I think I love her when you leave that room. I'd still not take their advice when I say you're moving in, even though we break up in the end. That just feels so real, that picture of like she's leaving and going, I think I love her. And she leaves the room, you talking about it. It's like, that just feels so real and believable, And just that thought of like, even if you be the one that got away, I'd still go back and get you. Even though I knew you'd be my best and work mistake, I'd still make it with you. So it's so sweet. It's a lot what a lot of people would want to say about an old flame and what a lot of old flames would love to hear from their old flame, right? So it has that going for it.
Yep.
And it feels so honest and heartfelt with great imagery and honesty. And I think that's just like, it's good to feel some real emotion again. Like it's kind of hitting a different button. Like Drunk Girl, deep, it's great. It is moving. It's like, wow, that's compelling. Some of it is kind of more heady, but still like, little truth bombs. And you got the Meant to Be and Everything's Gonna Be All Right, which is like just kind of make you feel good. And then you got Whiskey Glasses, which is sad but up, but fun, and got country, so a lot of rah-rah, right? And here we got one that's just like, here, I'm just gonna smack you in the feels.
Yeah.
This will make you feel something.
Yeah. I feel like you wish you had a relationship like this.
Like, oh man, that was good to feel something.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why it's very well crafted. But it's also, honest and hits you in the feels. And it just feels good to have a song that hits you in that spot in your heart that country music doesn't always serve up these days, which is sad because that used to be the place we go to get it. We love a good sad song.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, that's what makes that one of the songs I wish I'd written, is that like, it's emotional. Yeah, it's sad, it's nostalgic, but it's not just sad. I'm saying there was a lot of good there. It's bittersweet. And just, it's like, oh, there's some emotion in there. So good on y'all. Good on all 11 songs. It was awesome. So it was a great night. But so those are my takeaways. And hopefully that's going to help you on your journey, on your climb, thinking about, when you're writing, going, okay, well, these aren't the only way to have a hit or that people respond to, but is there some lessons I can pull from these? to apply to my writing.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Were you at the award show when you got yours?
Yeah, I was.
That's cool.
Heck yeah, first time I ever went to the NSAI Awards. I didn't know they had it. I hadn't been in town that long.
That's a thing? Yeah, you're up. What?
Wow. Hey. And that's back when they did the Songwriter Awards and the Hall of Fame, Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame induction ceremony in one night. They've split them up now, but they used to be in one night. So it was just unbelievable. So it was the first time I went. It's like one of my first dates with Emily. So like, I will never be cooler than I was then. And,
dude.
Yeah. So I was swinging the big hammer that week. And,
I don't know quite how to tell you this, but
kind of a big deal for right now.
Deal. Yeah.
It might be a bigger deal if friggin' Bless the Broken Road hadn't come out the same year. It might even be a bigger deal. That one song that year.
You could have waited 1 month for that. 1 month you could have waited.
Come on, let me out of number one. Actually, there are a couple left me out of number one. But anyway, so they called us up there, so I got to get my picture made with Aaron and all that good stuff. Bob Regan, I think, was the president of the board at the time, and then so we didn't get all those songs didn't get performed because we were also sharing the night with like whoever was going in the Hall of Fame that night. But it's an amazing night. It's like, okay, I got to keep going back to these because it's inspiring. All the songs I'm on board with all those songs. There's not a bad one in the bunch, which makes sense because there's voted on by songwriters. We're picky. But then it's inspiring and challenging. Going, all right, that's the bar. That's the bar. Don't go to the bar. Go right to the bar.
Yeah.
Right to the bar.
That's
right
me.
To the bar.
Where's the bar?
Exactly.
Over there. Okay, I'll have a gentleman jack and a rocks.
But singable, good. Real emotion, great imagery, hooky. Aim for that stuff.
There you go. Yeah, and take 15 minutes, figure that out before you start putting pen to paper. Like, what's the angle? Like,
exactly.
How can you make the hook better?
When you're writing, going, okay, can I say this more hooky? Am I just killing time in the verse to get to this big old chorus, or can I make the verse, if that's all you heard, going, oh, I want to hear that again. I want to hear the verse again. Can you make it that hooky and that melodic and interesting?
I just thought of this, like when I was writing songs, there was this sort of naive allegiance that I had to what I felt was organic in terms of writing. Like I just wanted to come to me and I'm going to write all this stuff down. And I was completely, for a while, just completely ignorant or resistant of the craft part of the equation.
Aren't we all when we start off?
Yeah. And the craft part of it is, why would you resist that? To resist that is the same as saying, I'm going to be a plumber. Well, you got to do like 5 years of apprenticeship and do those. No. I'm just going to hook up some stuff to city water.
Hand me the P-trap and get out of my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, man, I bought suspenders. I'm good.
A builder, or like, how would you feel if, as a singer-songwriter, how would you feel if the people that made your freaking guitar felt the same way that you feel approach making the guitar the same way? Like, I'm just going to let this buzzsaw go right here, and just wherever it comes out, we're going to make a guitar, and then we're going to try to sell it. And then, like, what the hell? Like, it's a craft. Like, this is intentional. This is very intentionally not deep or intentionally deep.
It's none of these are accidents.
Yeah.
I mean, the inspiration might have come. There are surely happy accidents that happen along the way, but these songs are not accidents. I mean, I had somebody on Instagram, I had posted a thing about, a workshop I have coming up, and where I help people write better, more commercial, more marketable songs. And, and I have helped people, but this guy was like, you either got it or you don't. You probably hear some of that too.
Yeah.
Probably about the same thing about performance. You got it or you don't. And I was like, what? I'm like,
that's
come
the
on.
dumbest thing
If you
I've
think
ever
you can't be taught, are you any better now than you were 20 years ago? He's like, not really. It's like, oh, well, there we go. But
yet you're here. And why?
Yeah.
Like, why are we even having this conversation? Why don't you go do something else? Like, that's the insecurity coming out of the guy.
I guess. Or it's like, you can learn these things. I was like, all I can do is say, I raise my hand and go, I've been taught stuff.
Yeah.
from people, from co-writers, from people saying things I pick up on, and then also from workshops and people telling me books I've read and going, oh, I'm learning and I can get better. Don't tell me you either have it or you don't. That's just false. Now, you may have a certain amount of natural talent or not. Okay. We just showed up, right? And God gave us certain gifts and environment that we didn't pick.
But my business is rife with people that have like loads of natural talent, but have zero, or like on a scale of 1 to 10, like 1.5 on craftsmanship of everything, on being an artist, on delivering a vocal, on how to tour, on understanding the brand and being consonant with the music and understanding the politics of it, right? And how to play that game and the relationships part of it and how to do business. Like we got all this natural talent, but if you can't pay your bills on time,
right,
then that's what people are going to remember you by.
Yeah. I think either you got it or you don't. It shows that someone is either uneducated about it or they're just so mystified by the whole thing. They don't want to think about it, or it's an excuse to not have to put in the work.
It's naive because because what that suggests
it's naive
is that you're born with it, and then once you're born with it, it's easy,
right? And I don't have to work at it.
Yeah,
no one has anything to tell me. What kind of ego is that? Saying you can't be taught, like you either got to, like no one can teach you. Well, probably no one can teach you because you don't think you can be taught. So therefore,
was it an egotistical thing like that you felt, or was it like a?
Well, there was some of like, it even said like, yeah, I have so much, and he kind of contradicts himself anyway within his own post, going, no, you either got it or you don't. I've been doing this for years, and basically like, I have a ton I could probably share with people about how to do this, but I'm like, well, you just said you could share it, but so I don't know. It's somewhat ego, I think, because like I'm special. Right? I got it. I'm special. Versus like if I had to work my butt off for it, maybe I'm not as special. Maybe I just worked hard, which to me, that's, so whatever your story is that you like. For some people, they want to say like, no, my story makes me cool is that I wasn't born with it. I went out and got it. I worked hard. And some people's special story is I'm just special. I'm just different. I'm just born with it. But also it's a protection thing, man. It's laziness and it's an excuse. It's a get out of jail free card. If I believe you either got it or you don't, I don't have to do the hard work to hone my craft and to admit that people have stuff they can teach me. Doesn't mean they're better than you. They just maybe have been around a couple corners you haven't been around yet. And they're like, I know what's coming up.
Why is that the focus? Why is that the freaking focus? Like, what if they are better than you? What if they're not better than you? Who cares? Why do you care? Do you have something to learn or something to contribute? One of the two. Get in there and do it. But if all you're thinking about is, well, they're better than me, and that's where you go to, and that's where your brain's at. That's the default mechanism. And then you're focused on that. You're completely missing the boat.
Yeah.
You're completely missing the boat.
Yeah, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I was like, okay, if you either got it or you don't, let's look at writers. And you look at some of their early stuff. And now you look at their stuff now and go, wow, they're so much better. How do they get better? You either got it or you don't. If you just got it or you don't, why don't you just come right out? Writing your first song as good as your 1,000th song? Oh, I guess you learned along the way. Huh? How did you learn? Well, if you can learn, that probably includes learning from other people, whether you're just observing or whether they're telling you stuff.
And learning from doing it, right?
And learning from doing it, right.
So like, let's take what you mentioned, the Beatles. Man, I can't remember if it's John or Paul had been quoted as saying like, we started writing songs and like, it was either the first 50 or the first 150 were shite.
Right. Yeah.
Terrible. And then they figured out like how to write songs. Right. Mm-hmm. And I know that they went to Hamburg for a couple of years where they were playing like 8 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week.
8 days a week, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Get it right. 8 days a week. And they get better. Why? Because you're doing it every single day and it's a muscle and it's that kind of experience that you build up to make that happen. And then I was just listening to a podcast where they're interviewing Andrew Loog Oldham, who was the assistant to Epstein, who managed the Beatles. And he was talking, Andrew Loog Oldham went on to do exactly what Brian Epstein had done with the Beatles. He did it with the Stones, right? And he's talking, and straight up, like Lefsetz asks him, did the Beatles become the Beatles without Brian Epstein? He's like, no. There's no way. What he contributed to the raw talent, right? So what makes the Beatles so smart was They knew what they had and they knew what they didn't have. They knew what they knew and they knew that there was things that they didn't know and that they had to take a chance on that, this guy here was telling them, hey, you kind of need to do this. And it made sense for them, right? Mm-hmm. And then they went and they did it. But there was a trust factor there. That's what a producer is. Like, I mean, some producers come, if you don't trust the producer, you're done before you start to sing anything.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You either got it or you don't. Okay, well, okay, so the Beatles just were born.
Do we apply that to any other field?
Yeah.
Like all these actors, you got it or you don't. They went to school. A lot of them went to acting school, or they did it and they had coaches and they learned from their peers. And they, why is this, music and songwriting, this is mystical kind of thing that, you just got it, you don't. Now, like athletes, you can't coach speed. Some people have better fast twitch muscles than others. But you know what? They sit on the couch, they'd be fat and slow. But
there's a boatload of athletes that have all that still don't make it like to the NFL.
Right. Because it's a whole bag of skills you have to have. And that's one skill. So it's like, you can be born with a certain, like I've just always had a knack for words. It's just always been my thing. It's just always been there before writing was on my radar as a profession. And so
what are you going to do about it?
It was a natural bent, right? It's like, this is it was a gift. I didn't do anything about it. It was just a gift that I was born with, like a knack. I'll call it a knack for words. Mm-hmm. All right. And a knack turned into like, I got some results from that. Like making a little pun, a bad pun, telling a little story. And that stuff, you start getting a little positive feedback on that. You're like, oh, that's nice. That's fun. I like that. I got a laugh out of that. I'll tell another pun when the situation calls for it. I got a little attention for that, a little positive feedback, a little candy, Oh, yeah. I got a wince and a grimace off that pun. It's almost even better, And then the ratchet effect kicks in. So I devote more time for that. I throw more wordplay out there, and I'm reading, I'm enjoying stories. So I start writing a little bit, and I start writing short stories, and I write poetry, and and I like the results I get, and I like the story of like, right. And I was terrible. I like bad poetry. And then I started writing lyrics and they were bad, but I liked the feeling I got. And so I devoted more attention to this knack. And then this knack became a craft, and I learned, I read books and I listened to NSAI speaker tapes, and I tried to glean what I could. And I learned from co-writers, and I'm a whole lot better now than I was 20 years ago at this.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, what that also states, by the way, is that somehow success is a destination.
It's not.
If you got it, then you're going to be successful. And if you don't, then you don't. And it's like, man,
it steals your power.
Even the people who are successful, like I think you talked about that one guy a bunch of episodes ago who, had a hit song, came in and trying to tell everybody how to write a hit song. Around some other writers. And you're like, wait, what? Like, so
you've had one?
Now you know everything. And who was that guy? And what happened to him? Nothing.
Yeah, I think that was from the Chris Lindsay interview that we did.
Yeah, that's
several episodes ago. So you look for Chris Lindsay. I think it's a story he told. But yeah, the thing of you either got it or you don't, and we should have just done an episode on this, is it steals your power. That story steals your power. Because either way, because you think you got it, so maybe you don't have to work and you can coast because you're one of the blessed few, or you don't got it and you don't need to work hard because, well, you don't got it. Yeah. Either way, that story, I think, is a landmine you don't want to step on. Steals your power.
It's a question that's irrelevant. Having it, for me, when I was an artist, was just as much about having the balls to do something about it as it was to be able to write a song and be able to sing it and be compelling on stage and go and record some stuff. Is still to have the balls to be vulnerable, have the balls to make a mistake and go and move everybody down to Florida and come back with our tail between our legs if it goes sideways. Mm-hmm. It's that whole thing. And then knowing how to work the room. Andrew Lou Golden was talking about, just to give you an example, he was talking about the Stones. So they put out the first record, all cover songs, right? Mm. And they get a single and it gets up on the charts. And he's talking about how he manipulated the charts because he could go buy 3 to 5 records from each one of these stores that they knew reported the charts, and then people were going to pay attention to them. And he goes, now comes time for the second record, and we don't have any material. Like I'm trying to suggest these songs and those songs, and the band's kind of like what to do. Second record, by the way, all covers except for 3 songs. But the first one they did was, and he goes, it was happenstance. I was in the studio. I needed to go to the bathroom or something. And he goes, I went out the studio door and I turned right as opposed to left. And I walked out and I ended up in the parking lot. And then in comes John and Paul. Mm-hmm. Who he knows, right? Yeah. From working with Epstein. And he goes, they were just at some songwriter awards thing or something like that, which we happen to be talking about right now. And he goes, they were sufficiently lit up, you know? Mm-hmm. He goes, but man, let me tell you, they were hustlers. Mm-hmm. Like they had that too, you know? And so they were like, what's wrong, Adam? Like he does a perfect John Lennon. He can do John Lennon perfectly. And he's telling blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, well, we've got a song. And he goes, and they come in and he goes straight up. He goes, these guys come in, show the band, the Stones, because they cut a Beatles song. Wow. But the Beatles never cut it. It was a John and Paul song. Mm-hmm. And well, we've got something that's almost done. We'll come in and we'll finish it, and then you can cut it. And so they pretended like they were finishing the song. He goes straight up, like Ringo recorded it like 12 days earlier. Like they had it done. They were putting on a show to get them interested in cutting the song and making them feel like it was just fresh and brand new.
It's the story, baby.
Yeah, man. I mean,
we'll finish this for you in front of you.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's the story?
So that's part of it too, is them being interested in that. Like, okay, well, if we're not going to do this, I want somebody else to do that. And they love just as much. They just love seeing their name as writers on other people's records. Mm-hmm. Like that was their thing. So I don't know. There's so much to it. And honestly, talent is 10% of it.
Yeah, it's not the whole deal. And we need to wrap this up because I made fun of Johnny's last episode because it was long and this one's longer. So
and I hardly talked on this one. Not for nothing.
I'll tell you what, till the end when we went over. But listen, what this comes down to is thinking when we went over. Yeah. What this comes down to is thinking like a pro songwriter, right? Thinking whether I got it or I don't, and studying what makes a song great, all that stuff. It comes down to thinking like a pro songwriter. So if you want to think like a pro songwriter, a good step is with my gift to you. It's my free ebook called Think Like a Pro Songwriter. You can get it at giftfrombrent.com. That's gift from Brent. That's me, BRENT.com. And it's Think Like a Pro Songwriter. You just download it. You get instant access to it. And it also puts you on the insider's email list for Songwriting Pro and let you know about workshops we have coming up, but also let you know about when the new podcast drops, cool events and cool stuff going on, and just a lot of good free information that you can hopefully will help you on your climb. So that's it. Giftfrombrent.com. Check it out.
There you go, guys. All right. Well, join the Climb community if you haven't done so. Subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and review, and tell somebody about what you just heard if it makes sense and it's helping you. It'll help them. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.